Welcome to Hockeywiztalks podcast. Today I'll be giving fantasy football draft advice. Drafting in fantasy football is very easy if you know what you're doing. Before you do the actual draft for your league, I would suggest doing a couple mock drafts. Doing mock drafts allow you to practice both your draft strategy and identify the players you really want to draft. The most important thing about drafting a good team is knowing the scoring system in your league. Based off this knowledge, you can then build a team that dominates the league. With the first pick, I usually go after running backs because top tier running backs are harder to get late in the drafts. You should draft a tight end before the third round because it is important to get a leg up on your opponent. The tight ends I would target are Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz. In the third round, I would draft a wide receiver that gets over 1,000 yards receiving and at least 8 touchdowns. Then in the fourth round, draft another workhorse running back like Derrick Henry, Devontae Freeman, or Marlon Mack. In the fifth round, I usually like to add another top-notch wide receiver like Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Tyler Lockett, and Tyreek Hill. In the sixth round, I usually like to draft a quarterback. The best options available are Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, Baker Mayfield, and Deshaun Watson. In the seventh round, I like to draft another number 1 running back who is the go-to guy on their team but is not ranked too high. Usually the best options available at this point are Kenyon Drake and Chris Carson. In the 8th round, I like to draft the best available defense according to my pre-draft ranking. By the 8th round, the best available defenses are the LA Rams, LA Chargers, and Minnesota Vikings. After the 8th round, you should have an idea of who to draft in each round based off your mock drafts. Usually in the 9th round, I like to draft another defense just to have another option for head-to-head matchups. In the 10th round, managers should draft another wide receiver who will get near 1,000 yards receiving. The player you should target here is Tyler Boyd. I always have 2 reliable quarterbacks on my roster because in head-to-head leagues, a lot is dependent on matchups. If your number 1 option has a tough matchup that week, you will need a reliable second option to start. In the 11th round, there will still be 2 good quarterbacks available in Ben Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers. Both of these 2 quarterbacks are reliable fantasy options that you can start virtually any week. In the 12th round, draft 1 more running back. Try to target players such as Rashard Penny, Jordan Howard, Latavius Murray, or Peyton Barber. With the final 2 picks, you should be targeting wide receivers, as there are many hidden gems late in the draft. The players you should specifically target with your final 2 picks are Emmanuel Sanders and Dede Westbrook. I usually save the last pick for the kicker because the kicker can be easily replaced. To be totally honest, the kicker you pick in the draft will usually change by the bye week. This is how the ideal fantasy football team would look like. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers, running backs David Johnson and Derrick Henry, wide receiver Keenan Allen and Tyler Lockett, tight end Travis Kelce, flex Kenyon Drake, defense Houston Texans, kicker Robbie Gould, bench Ben Roethlisberger, Jordan Howard, Tyler Boyd, Emmanuel Sanders, Dede Westbrook, and New Orleans defense. When you draft in fantasy football, you want to draft a well-balanced team that will outscore your opponent at every slot. The best way to build a powerhouse team is to know the breakout players and sleepers, which I covered in the last podcast. It is also very important to be prepared for the draft, so do as many mocks as you need to prepare yourself for the draft. In conclusion, just be prepared for the draft and do your research, and you will do great. In my next podcast, I'll be doing a review of the NHL offseason.